Hello everyone, my name is Betrand and Nnamdi, and today I'll be talking about the simple digital audio workstation app for iOS. And I'll just be running through the table of contents. This is what I'm going to be talking about in this presentation. So I'm going to be letting you guys know what a digital audio workstation is, the types of digital audio workstations we have, and I'll be focusing more on a certain type, which is the software digital audio workstation. I'll run you guys through on my motivation behind the presentation and the project. I'll also give you a bit of description about the project I'll be doing and some future goals as well. What is a digital audio workstation? A digital audio workstation is an electronic device or software that is capable of recording, editing, and producing audio files. So when we are talking about recording music, or be it songs, or you have films and a host of other things, even a speech, digital audio workstation, that is where this interface or application comes in. It can just be a simple application, not a simple application because they are usually very complicated, but it can just be a software that you have on a computer, or it can be a workstation where you combine hardware with software, in which case you have a computer and you have a hardware and you connect it with some sort of audio interface, having things like microphones and outputs like speakers. This can all be classified as a digital audio workstation. And we have two types of digital audio workstations. We have the integrated digital audio workstation and we have the software digital audio workstation. Like I said earlier, digital audio workstations have various applications. You can use them in the recording and production of music, songs, speeches, even podcasts, televisions, shows, audio for television shows, pretty much anything that has to do with audio production. A digital audio workstation is used. Talking about the types of digital audio workstations, we have two types. We have the integrated digital audio workstation, which is a physical standalone hardware unit, and this unit usually has a mixing console. It has some sort of control surface. It has a digital storage device and an audio converter. And these integrated DAWs were really popular before the popularity of personal computers. So back in the 90s, 80s, where we had personal computers were still very expensive and not a lot of people had access to personal computers. This was when integrated DAWs, this hardware units, this was when they were really used. And then they were really used, by large professional audio recording studios. Now, a software DAW, it can, like I said earlier, it can just be the application itself. So when you're talking about applications on your personal computer, be it a Windows computer or a Mac, it can refer to the software itself. It can also be a computer-based software DAW, which features a computer, a sound card or an audio interface, a digital audio editor software, and at least one input device. And that input device can be a mouse, or it can be a MIDI controller where you can be able to play notes from notes. If you have plugins that have like keyboard plugins, for example, you can be able to play notes with a MIDI controller. And up here we see an example. We see a diagram of the software DAW components. So we have, in this place, we have the PC with a DAW installed, and we have an audio interface which is connected to the PC via USB, and we have the microphone, which is the input device, and we also have the speaker, which is the output device in this case. And a good example of an audio interface that can be used for things like this can be M Audio. So for example, if you want to record yourself, your input device, the microphone, or it can also be an instrument, you can use that for recording. And on the DAW, once you click on the recording button, for example, you record yourself. Then after it's done recording, you can play it back and listen to it on the speakers. So it just gives you an idea of the software DAW components. Software DAWs, typically the ones The one I'll be talking about now are the software DAWs, which are actually just the application or the software itself. So we have applications like Pro Tools or FL Studio or Cubase, applications that I'm sure most people who work with audio are familiar with. So these software DAWs are usually controlled with a user interface, and their layout consists of a library, and this library can be used for managing the different sounds that are included in the DAW. And you can also have sounds that you can add. Let's say you download some drum kits or you download some other instruments or plugins. You also have this is going to be managed by the library. Then we have transport controls. This features your play, stop, pause, your rewind, your forward controls. So typical controls for stopping and playing recorded audio, and even the recording itself, the button for recording, is also included in this control. The mixer. A mixer simply combines different sounds or different audio signals, and this combination can be sent to just one output signal. So you have 4 or 5 different signals. Let's say you have one that is if you're making beats, for example, you have one that is the kicks, you have one that is the snares, and then you have a synth, and then you're playing all this together and you're combining all this together in the mixer, or that's what the mixer does. The mixer combines all this together, and then when you listen to it, you're hearing it as one single beat or instrumental. So that is what the mixer does. It combines these different sounds, and these different sounds can have different volumes. Then we have a waveform display. As is common with audio applications, when you record an audio, you kind of see a waveform which shows you how high the recorded audio is, or the length of the audio. Some even show you the frequency of the audio. So most digital audio workstations are equipped with this feature as well. And also in most digital audio workstation, most DAWs, we have plugins, and plugins is just a mini program within a DAW. Take, for example, a simple keyboard. So you can have a program that is a simple keyboard that allows you to play the keyboard inside your DAW. So this isn't actually an external keyboard. This is a program that simulates an actual keyboard that can be played inside your DAW. And most times you can use this, you can play this instrument, this virtual instrument, with your keyboard, or if you have a MIDI controller, you can connect this to the DAW and play it as well. So we'll be looking at a couple of examples of software DAWs. The first on this list is Avid Pro Tools. I've had previous experience with this back a few years back when I was still I was still interested in music production. I had a little stint with Pro Tools, and in my experience, the first time I opened it and looked at it, it was overwhelming, because it looked like something a professional would use, rather. It looked really intimidating at first, because there were these many options and so many things that I didn't know about. But as time went on, I kind of got the hang of it. So it is the most popular digital audio workstation in the world. Most people, if you've ever been around people who record music, or if you're into music recording or mixing or producing yourself, you definitely would know of Pro Tools. And like I said, it is the most popular. It is also the industry standard for professional recording, mixing, and editing. And it has, I think the reason why is because it has a clean interface, and it also produces really clean output as well. So this is one of the best DAWs for recording, for mixing, or for editing. It is designed to record multiple amounts of audio simultaneously. So most DAWs, although this also depends on the type of system you have, because not a lot of systems give you the capability to record multiple audios due to processor differences and things like that. But also, if you have a system that has the capability, then Pro Tools is the way to go. If you're recording a song that has multiple instruments and multiple audio at the same time, this is really the way to go. Here we have a picture of the interface of the Pro Tools DAW, the Pro Tools DAW, and here we can see this just gives us a brief. Here we have our transport controls. We have your play, pause, play, stop, record, your forward, your rewind, and things like that. Here we have an example of a plugin, and in this plugin you can select different things depending on what you want. Here, even though it's slightly covered, is an example of the different tracks that this user has recorded. So like I said, it gives you the permission, or it provides the functionality to record multiple tracks, numerous tracks simultaneously. So that's just an example of Pro Tools. The next one is FL Studio. Now, FL Studio I also had experience with way back when I was still into music production. Formerly it was known as Fruity Loops, and one thing that struck me about the FL Studio interface was opening it seemed really easy to use. It was less scary compared to the Pro Tools interface, and I think a lot of users also have this experience. It's kind of welcoming in a way. It doesn't really seem challenging, and FL Studio is really good. I think it's really popular in the hip hop industry and rap industry because it uses a lot of loops. You can use this DAW to create beats that have loops, because early hip hop music, people just use loops to create beats. So not even just in hip hop, in also electronic music, where you have beats with different patterns and loops as well, this DAW is also very useful. And the workflow, like I said, is quite straightforward, which makes it really good for newbies. It's not so challenging, and there's a lot of tutorials online that you can learn or you can use that would give you a good idea of how to use FL Studio. And this is an example of the interface of FL Studio. So over here, as you can see, this is an example of the library. So here we have different collections of different things. In this, if we can see this, this is called the drum kit. Here, it just is a collection of multiple drum kits, and you can just open one of these, drag one, lay it up here, and you can immediately just start creating patterns as soon as you click on this. And these are your transport controls, your pause, play, pause, stop, and record. Once you press play, once you click form a pattern with this, based on this here is the BPM, that's the beat per minute. So you can either increase this for a faster beat or reduce it for a slower beat. And once you press play, depending on the type of pattern that you pick, it's going to give you an idea of, you will immediately start hearing a sound. And if you combine multiple sounds, you would hear multiple sounds. So immediately you can get an idea of how the beat is going to sound without even doing much, without having a lot of knowledge about it. And right here we have the mixer, and here we have the waveform display, which just displays the audios that have been recorded. PreSonus Studio One. This I have no prior experience with, but reading up about it, a lot of people really seem to like this software and this DAW. I think the reason why is due to its drag and drop functionality. And it is really, really encouraged to use this feature. And it's understandable why this is really used by a lot of people, because it's quick and fast. You don't need to do too much. You can just drag and drop what you want to create into the interfaces, and it makes it easy to use. And another reason why a lot of professional users make use of this interfaces, it gives you that professional quality you're looking for, and it has an easy to use interface. So unlike an interface or a DAW like Pro Tools, you're actually combining good quality with an interface that is easy to use. And the mastering capabilities are unparalleled. So you don't have any other DAWs that provide the same type of mastering capabilities as this interface, this DAW provides. And this is an example of the PreSonus Studio One DAW. As we can see, the layout, like I said earlier, is pretty much similar. We still have a mixer down here, and we have your waveform display. And this is an example of a plugin. As we can see, the keyboard pattern here, we have different envelopes and filters that can distort the sound however you would like. And there are so many other things that this interface provides that I'm not going to cover here. Here we have multiple tracks that you can lay depending on if you want to have multiple vocals, backing vocals, your lead vocal. You can just add new tracks, and here you have a multi, and this is where they would all be displayed. Okay, so now to the main project itself. My motivation for creating this project was actually because of most of these DAWs, if not all of them I looked at, they were focused on computers. So it wasn't really easy to find a DAW that I could use on a smartphone. I think FL Studio has one, but apart from FL Studio, there's no other one that is really available for smartphones. So this was a good motivation to try to challenge myself to create one where I can put in my love for music and music production and programming. And here I'm also challenging myself by by programming with Xcode, which is creating an iPhone app, basically. Not necessarily for iPhone, but iOS, to be more precise. So this would be my first time coding for iOS and programming with Xcode. So it's also kind of challenging, challenging myself to learn something new in the process. And I'm also trying to incorporate a bit of what I learned in assignment 2, which was the pitch detection with Yin. So I'll be trying to include that as well into this app. So the name of my app is called Simple DAW, just simply because it is a simple version, or a much simpler version of a real digital audio workstation. So the main capabilities of this app would be mainly an audio recorder app. So you would be able to record your audio using the built-in microphone of the smartphone, whatever smartphone you're using, which has to be an iOS enabled smartphone, so an iPhone, be it an iPad, for example. Now you'll be able to pause the recorded audio. This app would also include pitch detection and pitch shifting. Now, pitch detection is just detecting, you would be able to speak or hum or whistle, and the app would try to find what pitch, or try to detect what pitch it's listening to and display that. And pitch shifting kind of has to do with reducing and increasing the pitch of the audio. So I'm thinking of this in two ways, which I will discuss in my next slide. So I'll just leave that for later. So here I'm kind of doing a comparison between the three apps. So I have Pro Tools, I have the PreSonus Studio One, and I have my own app. So it's kind of different. If you look at the platform, Pro Tools is based on it's created or developed, it's a cross-platform app for Windows. It's supported by Windows, Mac OS, and it also has an iOS app, which can be used, it acts like a remote, which you can actually use to control and also view things on the original Pro Tools app. So if you have an app and you just want to remotely control the app you have, the Pro Tools app on your Windows, on your Mac, via Wi-Fi, you connect that, you download the app, connect it to it, and you'll be able to control it. Studio One also has a cross-platform app for Windows and Mac OS, and it has an Android app, which, like the Pro Tools app, also acts as a remote. So this would be the only app here, this Simple DAW. It's purely for iOS. It's not a remote or anything. It's the actual app developed for iOS. And in the recording, they are all going to be able to record. So Pro Tools, you can record, play, pause, save your recordings. Same thing in Studio One. And hopefully this Simple DAW is going to do that. So it's planned. I'm going to develop it to be able to record, and then the user should be able to save and play back, pause, forward his recording. Mixing. Yes, the Pro Tools can mix. It's a standard DAW, same as the Studio One. Currently, the simple DAW doesn't have that feature, but I hope it would be included, at a later time. Now, this is the project description of the simple DAW. I've kind of divided this into 3 sections to explain it better. So the audio recording part, the user should be able to record audio on the smartphone with the inbuilt microphone. So you would kind of have, I know it's kind of hard to visualize it as there's no physical app, but there would be a button which you would press to start recording, and once you start recording, you can stop the recording once you're done, and then you can play back the recording, you can stop the recording, you can pause it, like that. And once you've finished your recording, you can also save it. And once you close the app and open it back, you should be able to see the recording that you saved previously. Now, the pitch detection part of this app has to do with detecting the pitch of the user, of the audio, be it a live detection. In this case, the user just speaks, and as the user is talking, just as I am talking now, you would be seeing the app would try to detect the pitch of what the user is saying. So this would definitely work best when the sound is clear, say whistling, for example. This would work best in this instance. So if you actually play like a real song, the app might have issues trying to recognize all the different pitches in the song, for example. So it will work best if the audio is very clear. Now, playback detection. This is different from live detection in the sense that you can make a recording, save it, and then once you play it back, you can see the pitch of the recording that you did. So if I whistle a tune, for example, I record that tune and I save it and I play it back, the app should be able to show me the recorded pitch of the tune, not the recorded pitch, the detected pitch of the tune which I just played back. The third part is pitch shifting, and I'm also looking at this in 2 ways. The first way is the user would be able to record and save a recording and shift. There should be kind of a button or a slider where you can raise or lower the pitch of the recording. So if you raise it, for example, the pitch would then be higher, and then once the user plays back this recording, you would hear the recording in a higher pitch. While if you lower the pitch shifting slider, I'm visualizing it as a slider just so you understand what I mean, the user should be able to hear the recording in a deeper or in a reduced pitch. That's the first part. The second method is the live recording. So you would just have a slider with a certain pitch, set at a certain pitch. Then when the user is recording, the slider would be the audio would be playing. The user would hear the audio. So those are the 3 sections I've decided to include in this app. Now for the stretch goals. I hope to if I have enough time, I hope to also include a mixer. So how I'm visualizing this is you would be able to have different recordings, then you would put each recording into its own sort of track. Then you can control the volume of this track. So let's say I make a recording where I'm playing a drum, for example, or I'm beatboxing a drum, or I'm whistling a tune, and then I save that, I load it onto a track, and I make another recording where I'm clapping. I save that, I load it onto a track. Now, what the mixer should do is to combine these multiple different tracks at their differently set volumes and play it all back together as a single track. So you would hear this and then hear it as a single track and hopefully you should be able to save it as well. And then once you play back the saved track, the saved audio output, you would hear it as just a single track. Now, because of the time constraints, I might not be able, and also learning constraints, I might not be able to implement both the pitch shifting and pitch detection. But if I have enough time and enough resources, I will try to implement both features. And these are my references for creating this presentation, and hopefully you were able to understand all I have to say about the digital audio workstation, simple digital audio workstation. Thank you.